Good morning on January 2nd, 2014. We got a real nor'easter in Vermont, and we've got a keel and skeg and transom support being fabricated and soon to be installed in Roxanne's bilge. We're faced with some real challenges here because we needed a plank, a rough plank, to start working from that is at least 18 inches wide, 3 inches thick, and about 8 feet long. We're hard at replacing Roxanne's keel. RJ is holding up the first half, well, I guess, yes, the first half of the new keel and skeg section. We're fitting it in before we cut the other half out. And our goal is to once we have this fit in properly, our goal is to actually cut half of the prop shaft, the shaft log tunnel, with the router before we even glue the two halves together. And that way we should have our shaft log. That looks good, John. We're getting close. Yeah, I think that'll do it. Temporarily set in one half of what will be the keel and skeg. This is the first set of planks that we laminated, and once we get a good fit here, then we will cut the shape out of the other half of the keel from this plank that we're creating out of 6/4 FAS grade white oak. We will laminate the two halves together and end up with what might be called a super plank that will be almost 3 inches thick before we start planing it down to final thickness. Since we are staggering the glue joints, we're going to end up with a essentially 3-inch thick piece of plywood that's going to be super stable and will keep Roxanne's spine true and straight for decades and decades to come. So we've gotten to the point where we've got the new keel and skeg pretty well roughed in, and we're doing the final fitting at the transom, and John wants to share with you some of what he's discovered and how he's going to go about dealing with it.
I'm trying to fit the keel in the boat, and part of fitting the keel in the boat is getting it ahead or back far enough so that the transom comes out nice and straight. And in this case here, I still have to do some work on this lower board because apparently someone's done some repair before on it, and they put in a thicker board on the bottom, and when they did, they left it back a little far, and what happens here is I end up getting a hollow in my transom. So as I work this board in so that I can get my bottom board to swing in on the bottom where I need it, it'll take out some of this hollow and it'll leave the transom flat. But in order to do that, we have to do a little bit of sanding back here. So I've made up some pieces here to represent the new pieces of wood that'll go into the transom in order to fit the keel in place.
Yeah. We'll keep on moving forward. It's kind of satisfying, though, to be at a point, John, where things are going back into the boat rather than being torn out of the boat.
Yes, it is.
Yep. Maybe even by tomorrow afternoon, we'll have a keel and skeg pretty much in place. Well, we can't do that as a final act until we can route out the shaft bore in the skeg. So we'll be back to you next week sometime.